All right, we're gonna go straight in here. I say we're gonna go straight in. Me and Chris McKenna here, my boxing friend and journalist and scribe and bit of a legend around the game. We've been talking away for about 10 minutes, right? And I hadn't hit record, and he is raging. So, Chris, initially, forgive me, please, and great to see you. You all right, mate?
I'm very good, mate. Thanks very much for having me on. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. Good to see you. And listen, we're going to carry on from where we left off, sort of before we were even recording. But we've got to talk about the biggest, perhaps most boring topic in boxing right now: the will they, won't they? Are Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua going to fight? Where are they going to fight? When are they going to fight? Who is going to promote the fight? Who's going to be sat at the table? Will we ever see the fight? I don't know. There's so much going on, Chris, but let me get the kind of temperature gauge from you to start off with. Will they or won't they?
I think it's an 80% chance that they will. If you ever had asked me this question earlier last week, I'd have said 100% it's happening. It's all just a game. It's all just to get everything over the line, to go to New York and make it seem like they tried everything to do it at Wembley, etc. But I do think after making some phone calls late last week that there is maybe these issues are a bit more problematic. I don't think they're unsolvable. I don't think it's like in 2021 when Deontay Wilder had that the arbitration and
Arbitration.
got,
Yeah.
yeah, and that obviously scuppered it. I don't think it's like 22 where Queensbury were trying to push for it at Tottenham, and there was a lot of games going on there, and it didn't suit Matchroom, it didn't suit Joshua, and it just felt at the wrong time of year as well, and stuff like that. I do think it's probably going to happen. All of this stuff, by the way, we get consumed in it as media, as boxing fans. But outside of the bubble that we live in boxing, a lot of people just don't care. They just want to know when there's the fight happening. They want it in the UK if they're British fans, of course, but this bores them, like it bores us because it's just tedious now. It's just back and forth, back and forth. But we do play a part in it, and we do make it a bit
Yeah.
because we do stuff like this. I do stories on it. I'm constantly badgering people for information on it. We do kind of play a role in that game, and it does work because it does numbers. But outside of it, people just want to know when's it happening, what time's it on, at what date is it. They don't care who's promoting it. They don't care who's coming out first. They don't care whatever. They just want to see it now. And I personally don't think it's the fight it should whatever what like it's nowhere near as good as it would have been a few years ago. I think they're both past their best days, but everybody still wants to see it. It will do massive numbers. And yeah, to cut a long story short, I think it will happen, but I think there's issues to overcome.
Do you know what? You're right there about how like we do perpetuate it. Generally, people are making videos. I'm making videos about, oh, is there a bit of doubt now? He said this, he said that,
Yeah.
and you're getting mileage out of it when stuff that you put goes to print or goes online. When they do eventually fight and both retire, I feel like a lot of air would have left the balloon of boxing. And obviously, you got guys coming through. You got Moses, you got Dubois, but when they do leave, like I can't imagine, say Moses and Dubois were in negotiations and stuff, there'd be that many stories about it. There'd be so many videos made about it. It's grown and grown. And while I agree with you that it's not the fight it was 5, 6 years ago, because of course, once upon a time, it would have been for the undisputed world heavyweight championship. Now it's not as great a fight, but I do think it's bigger because they're more famous. Would you go with that?
I think it would have been obviously you're talking 21, 22 was
Yeah.
coming out of COVID. It was all a bit of a strange time, wasn't it? I think if it could have been done in 2019, if say the biggest point it would have been if Fury had have got the decision over Wilder in that first fight, and he had the WBC title, and before kind of Joshua, then if Joshua hadn't to lose, lost to Ruiz, and all of that time, it would have
Mm.
been astronomical. I still think in 21, coming out of COVID, people would have been desperate for a massive event. I think you would have had Sky Sports Machine behind it. I think it would have that would have broken numbers, records. I still think it's a huge, huge fight. Don't get me wrong. They're probably going to earn more money now,
Yeah,
because the Saudi involvement and the Netflix involvement have pushed the purses up. Um, and there would have been Saudi involvement in 21, but it was a little different there, wasn't it? It was the previous group
it's a
who were
different
doing it.
outfit. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And now you've got Netflix behind it as well, which is a massive company, and they'll make it big. They'll make it big, but and the purses are bigger. But I think the interest from the people outside of boxing, just the general boxing fans, isn't quite as what it was then. They'll still watch it, but I just don't think you'll have the same buzz.
Yeah, no, interesting. So where do you think the kind of games are potentially being played right now with this? Because like we saw a couple of days ago, Eddie Hearn came out very much on the front foot, talking about we just want our contract adhered to, which is to fight in the UK. That's what AJ has signed for. You do all of that, no one can pull out of the fight. This is the sort of terminology and kind of language being used from him. But then at the same time, everything that we're hearing is that the people putting up the money for the fight, they don't want the fight to be in the UK because they want to maximize their earning potential and eyeballs potential by putting it MSG, New York, historic venue, and sort of broadening the kind of appeal to it. So, do you think, like, what do you think's going on with that? And do you think that there is a genuine, like, we must put it in the UK, we have to put it in the UK, or is it more about a money thing?
Um, it's hard to know on from Eddie Hearn and Joshua's side. Yeah, they could be playing a game that it is just trying to get more money, so let's make it look like really wanted in the UK. You have to remember in 2021, everybody was just telling us that, oh, it has to go to Saudi Arabia. And it's going to Saudi Arabia because that's where the money is. And everybody was basically told you just have to swallow that.
And it would have been
But,
undisputed back then.
but yeah, and that felt like then that should have been at Wembley. But we were told then it has to go to Saudi Arabia because that's where the money is. My personal view, and I remember having a chat with you about this. I think it's a mistake to go to New York because I think it's not going to do as well. Um, in terms of viewing figures. But where you're talking about the game, well, yeah, they probably are playing it, but I think there's been games on both sides. We were getting told a few weeks ago that Seller and that they were trying to bring it to the UK and they wanted help from the mayor of London, etc., etc. But they never contacted them. They never tried that. Now, whether they just thought it was going to be impossible or not, and I thought that it was daft to do it at 4 a.m. in November at Wembley. It just it it just sounds not like daft. Yeah, you could. I know that Calzaghe fought in Cardiff in the early hours, but it has a roof. It's different.
Yeah.
It's Cardiff, Millennium Stadium, or the Principality Stadium as it's called now. It's in the city centre. There's not as much transport issues. Whereas at Wembley, it just wouldn't have worked. But they didn't try, or they certainly didn't make an approach. So what did they ever want to do it in London? Was that the first game being played? And then but then why did they draw up a contract with Anthony Joshua that says the fight must take place in the UK?
This is a
That
new thing, right? This is something
yeah,
certainly from that previous era of when the fight's been agreed in the past. Like we weren't hearing things about fighters having different contracts. This is very much a
yeah,
Riyadh season, Turkey Al Sheikh seller kind of initiative almost that's come along.
yeah.
Why does that happen? From your understanding, why would there be a scenario where Anthony Joshua would have signed a fight to be in the UK against Tyson Fury, but Tyson Fury would have signed a fight that would not necessarily specify that it was in the UK? How and why would that happen, Chris?
I don't. It doesn't make any sense. I understand why they've maybe done these two contracts because one of the issues before getting big fights on was he's getting more money than me. He's getting this. He's getting that. So maybe they thought we'll just do two separate contracts. We give them a load of money each, and they don't really know what they're getting each. They can find out. Eddie Hearn can make phone calls. Spencer Brown or Queensbury, whoever's doing Tyson's deal, can make phone calls and find out. But it's not written in black and white. So two separate contracts. There's a load of money each. Do you want the fight or not? I can see the reason of doing that, but you surely have to have some kind of it has to match. So Tyson Fury's has the same clauses as Anthony Joshua's, and
But we
they
understand
obviously
that's
don't.
that's not the case, right?
No, yeah, that's
Yeah.
they don't. So, understand, as Eddie Hearn has publicly said, that Joshua says UK. I don't know where Fury says, but I understand that there is certain locations in his contract that it can't be. I don't know where those locations are. Um, so you have this, and it was, yeah, and it just, and then suddenly it's going to the US, and you have to renegotiate a contract. There's just been a lot going on, even going back to that night when Fury fought Makhmedov, and I believe Netflix were aware that the fight was done and it was all agreed. And Joshua was like, well, hold on, no, I haven't agreed anything. I want this, I
Yeah.
want that. And it was just all, it just started from there. And then, yeah, but now we're having to renegotiate. It's quite obvious that there's a tax difference in if you go to New York, there's a higher withholding tax than it is if it's in the UK. If it was in Saudi Arabia, I think there's no withholding tax. And other countries there's no withholding tax for big entertainers. But in New York, in America, there is. So I think that's where the negotiation is to try and bridge that gap of the difference in purse, because suddenly you're getting less money if you fight in New York. Whereas those running the show are believing that it's going to be more profitable in New York. So the
Yeah.
fighters are saying, well, aren't we entitled to more? Tyson Fury has agreed his side, and we're still waiting now on this addendum from that Matchroom have sent. As far as I'm aware, they still haven't had a response. But yeah, you're right there. It's a mess that we have these.
Yeah.
Why are the contracts not just the same?
I know,
You can have
but
different purses. You can have different
yeah.
like payment structures. All of that can be different. But the things, you have to have the two men in the ring at the same time in the same venue. So those things have to be the same in the contract.
Do you know what
And
I'm seeing out there is like I feel like for some reason like Tyson Fury is getting some blame for this as though he's moved the location. He's moved the location to America. Like my understanding is Tyson's just said yes to everything. Like he's not fussed. And at the same time he's not saying this has to be in the UK. I'm doing it for UK fans. He's literally saying I don't care where it is. I just want to fight Anthony Joshua. So why would he be getting
and he
stick
just
for
wants
that?
to get paid.
Yeah, well, yeah,
I think
exactly.
that's a significant thing.
But clearly, so does AJ, and he wants
Yeah.
to get paid fairly to move from the UK to the US. They both
Yeah.
want to get paid, right? But I don't understand how it could be seen that Tyson's putting up any kind of blockers to this fight happening if all he's doing is saying yes to the guys putting on the fight.
No, I don't think he's put on any blockers per se, but he did also negotiate his deal as well. It wasn't just I'll go to New York, no problem. There was renegotiations happened, and as I think it was only last week or the week before where he agreed on his details. So I I I think his negotiations may have gone a bit smoother, but it was still renegotiated to get him to New York, and he's played his part and he's signed. And now we wait to see what happens. And there will be a blame if for some reason this doesn't happen. There'll be a massive blame game,
Massive.
and
It always. It will be. They'll be
always
pointing
is.
at each other.
Yeah, yeah, and it'll be you did this, you did that. This should have been in the UK. Who cares? This should have been there. Whatever. There's so many, and everybody will get the blame, and it'll be on the public then. And social media will be awash with it,
Yeah.
and me and you will be revving over it.
I know, and we've
And
seen it all before, though, Chris. That's the
yeah,
thing. We saw it when every time the fight has fallen out, it then becomes a case of narrative control from the promoters and the parties as to why that guy got something wrong. No, it was that guy that got it wrong. I've signed. No, he hasn't signed. He said he was ready. All of that stuff, and we've seen it so many times. The thing that worries me right now is that there's so much noise, so many conflicting stories around the fight from people involved in making the fight. That's normally not conducive to a fight happening for me.
no. And yeah, there's too much being said probably, and there's too much out in the public, and we're not hearing from Turkey Al Sheikh, um, which would help if he could come out maybe and say something where it is, why it's not feasible to do it in the UK. Um, I mean, it's quite obvious to me why you wouldn't do it in the UK in November, but I understand why people would be annoyed it's in New York. Um, but I suppose the other thing as well that's not helping is there's people coming and doing interviews, and they're ill informed. Like, I'm not talking about people involved in the fight, people around just coming out saying stuff and not naming names, and then it's just generating headlines that aren't actually isn't true. Pick up the phone, try and find out. And if you don't know what's happening, don't say anything, because
Yeah.
you got to with this. There's always two sides to the story as well. So one side will say this, the other side will say another. It's obviously very hard to get information out from seller, and that's how they operate. I'm not criticizing for that. Um, Although Eddie Hearn is pertaining that there's been leaks from them, I'm not aware of that. I certainly wasn't given any information from them. But there's a lot going on, and there's too many people talking, not just within the fight, but outside of the fight, who don't really know what's going on, and that's not helping either because it's just creating just mad headlines everywhere.
Yeah, well, on that, I mean, I think we are living in an era where you don't actually have to be right to be heard. You just have to
Yeah,
have a bit of a platform and say something, and you can say pretty much anything, and it just gets written about.
yeah,
But listen, I think that's hopefully we get some updates soon on that. Maybe this week, maybe today, maybe this
yeah.
our chat will age very very badly, Chris. But
Well, that's where you could come off this, and you could get Turkey Al Sheikh will have tweeted, or Netflix will have
yeah.
tweeted, or Ring Magazine will have put it out. Bang, New York,
Mhm.
November the 20th, done deal. And yeah, and that'll be that. And I think that's how it will just kind of just all get done very quickly, and sorted out very quickly. And we'll have the fight in November in New York, and yeah, and we'll finally get to see not who the best out of the two is. I don't think this fight will decide that anymore because I don't think they're at the best. But we will get to see a build up, which will be very fun. We'll get to see what could be an entertaining heavyweight fight because the boat not at the best. That I think it'll be quite exciting. Can Fury catch Joshua? Like, will he go over? Won't we go over? Will
Mm,
Fury walk into one like he did against Wilder? There's loads. There's
yeah.
still enough fun in the fight. It's just not the elite heavyweight fight to me that it was, and it's not deciding who the best in the division is anymore. That Alexander Usyk ruined that for them. And then, as I said, hopefully a fight happens, they both go right, that's great, and walk away. And I understand there's not much coming after, but it's now time to let those grow. Let Moses Itauma grow. Let Dubois grow into it and take over and become the next stars of the division.
Well, that is the segue, Chris, because Moses Itauma, he's got it. On Saturday night, he's got his world title shot. He can become the second youngest ever world heavyweight champion if he beats Filip Hrgovic at the O2, at the same venue, with the same belt that Anthony Joshua went for 10 years ago. It feels like it's all set up as a historic moment in this young man's career. How are you seeing it?
Yeah, it's a proper fight as well. I
Mm.
know Hergovich not too long ago was seen as his bogeyman of the division, and he's an Olympic bronze medalist. But I think it's perfect for Moses. Hergovich is that bit older. He's obviously been beaten by Dubois. There's frailties there, and I think it's made for Moses Itauma to come in and do a real number on him. But it's doing a real number on a proper top heavyweight. No disrespect to Charles Martin, and certainly no disrespect to Anthony Joshua. Um, he deserved that chance at that time, and the belts broke that way for him, and he went on and beat Klitschko, and he did amazing things. And I'll always say with Joshua, some of his achievements are overlooked, but this is a lot tougher than Charles Martin. And this is a lot earlier in his kind of development for Atoma. In a way, he hasn't had as much amateur experience.
No,
Certainly not
no
at senior
senior,
level.
no
No
senior
senior level
amateur. So in the
experience.
amateurs, he was just beating up kids. He was a kid
Yeah,
himself. It's crazy.
yeah, under 18s, Europeans and the world's just going out stopping. And he was probably more developed than a lot of those kids, which helped. But there's no doubt in his talent. And this is a moment where you're hoping that, yeah, he breaks out now, and it's not just boxing fans that are raving about him, that it's the general public that go, wow, we got a new star here. And he's a different star. He's not Fury. He's not that outspoken. He's not that loud. He's not that kind of way of Fury is. And he's not like Joshua either. He's just different, and I think people maybe will like that as well. But yeah, he's got to do a number on Hergovich, and I think he will, and he'll look good doing it.
Yeah, and on that, him not being Fury, not being Joshua, of course, he's just going to be Moses. But also, I would ask the question: who was Tyson Fury at 21 years old? Who was Anthony
Yeah.
Joshua at 21 years old? We've got to allow that room for kind of development as a man. Who was Chris McKenna at 21 years old? Eh?
Yeah, a student who was drinking a lot probably,
Yeah.
and I am, but yeah, No, yeah, I understand. He's still a baby
Yeah.
in heavyweight terms, and you listen back to old interviews of Tyson Fury, and he is that brash and cocky, but he's not as loud, I suppose. He's not like there's that famous one that keeps getting shared around the Joshua fight from when he's speaking to Steve Brunt's on the BBC London about
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
sparring. He sounds a lot younger and more kind of, but still that Tyson Fury. But yeah, I think Moses Itauma is going to grow into a character. I think it will be more of a nonchalant kind of, I am who I am, kind of, I do my talking in the ring kind of
Yeah.
character.
He's
But
cool, isn't he?
yeah, it's that kind of relaxed. It's not, I'm not gonna, but we haven't really seen it either though yet until he's had a rival. Like who's gonna maybe put it on him in a press conference and start
Mm.
calling him a few things, and then we'll maybe see it maybe a different side to Atama. Will he react to that? Will he play it off? How will he kind of handle that?
Well, Hergovich has given him a little bit. He's given him a
Yeah,
little bit. He's not like giving him his props, and that's the
yeah,
thing that I think I've noticed around this is that Moses seems to want Hergovich to acknowledge him, essentially acknowledge him and give him his props for what he's achieved so far in his young career. And Hergovich is like, no, no, you're all right, mate.
and,
You're doing fine. But all that stuff you've won, I've won all of that. And if I was from the UK, I'd be where you are, probably a lot quicker.
yeah. And Hergovich has to do that. He's right
Yeah.
to do it. I know, like you, if you're a Atama, you'd be getting annoyed, and if you're in a Atama's camp, you'd be like, well, you know. But and Hergovich, yeah, if he gets knocked out, everybody go, oh look, he looks stupid for that. But actually, he has to do it. He's gone to the Olympics. He's won a bronze
Yeah.
medal. He's fought some decent guys. He's worked his way. He's had, I can't remember how many fights. Had a fair few professional fights. So yeah, well, he can't come in here going, "Oh, all hail Moses Itauma, you're the next king. I'm just come and walk all over me." He's gone, "No, I'm 34 years of age. I'm experienced. I've done it. Come and prove it against me. If you beat me, then I'm sure Hergovich will give him his props then. But he's got to kind of put some doubts in Itauma's mind that, oh, maybe I'm not ready for this, or maybe I'm up against a guy who's a bit more worldly than anybody else I've fought. And he is. That is one thing
He
about it.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, he knows his way around a ring better. He's hopefully fully fit. When you look at Dillian White. Dillian White's nowhere near to me the level of Hergovich, but he wasn't fit for that fight. He didn't look fit. He fell apart so quickly. So yeah, this is a big step up for Itauma, and Hergovich is right to say no. It's a step up. You haven't made the step yet, and that's the test on Saturday night.
It's all been set up for Moses, though, right? The hype machine is in full effect. And I have to say, I've been quite impressed with how much hype has actually been generated around this fight and around Moses Itauma. We talk about how this kind of new era of, Moses essentially not boxing on Sky Sports or Sky Sports pay-per-view. He's a DAZN fighter exclusively. And he's done all of that. And they've created this hype around him, I guess, with TalkSport's help and Queensbury, etc., etc. But they've driven
Yeah.
him to this point where the event is called Witness History. And that's incredible. It's an incredible amount of pressure on a 21-year-old's shoulders. And I just wonder, is Filip Hrgovic being kind of overlooked going into this? He's actually ranked above Moses in the Ring Magazine rankings, which you can make of that what you will, but he's a real one. He's a real one, Chris.
Yeah, this is a tough fight. I
Mm.
I think Atama will do a number on him, but it's a tough fight. It's a proper fight. Um, it's a world title fight. You can argue, yeah, the belts have been broken up, but that's what happens.
Mm.
Usyk's given them up. It's not like it's just been taken from Usyk too early or whatever. He's given them up, so they have to be fought for. And both of these fighters are high in the rankings, and the deal was done with Frank Sanchez to step aside, and he'll want the winner. But it's a tough fight, and it's what Atoman needs. Now, the witness history thing and all of that puts massive pressure on him. And
Massive.
I was even driving around Manchester the other day, and it's on the side of buses here and the advertising, and I was like, fight. I was thinking, is the fight in Manchester? Have I missed it or something? But
Yeah,
no, it's
yeah,
in
yeah.
London. But it's obviously DAZN pushing people to subscribe for it. But you're seeing it witness history, and you're going, that is big billing, isn't it? Because that's like assuming he's nearly going to do it.
Yeah. But Filip
But
Hrgovic is probably looking at that saying witness history. Yeah, Croatia's first world heavyweight champion. Yeah, cheers,
yeah,
fellas.
Yeah, always looking at it going, these cocky so and so's think
Yeah.
this is just going to be a walkover. I'm going to show them, and that's going to be massive motivation for him because this is his chance. As you say, Croatia's first world heavyweight champion, but and the money and the doors this will open up because there's probably a rematch, whatever there always seems to be. But if he won that, then everybody wants Hergovich because he's got a world title and he can write a check whatever he wants then. So there's a massive motivation for him.
Yeah.
And Moses Itauma has to be at it. He has to be 100% at it because it's a tough, tough fight and it's a good fight. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. There's some decent good fights that you're looking at this as one of them where I expect Itauma to win, but I'm so keen to see what he's like against a tough, tough opponent, and there is risk.
Yeah.
There's massive risk. Dalton Smith against Puello in a few weeks. That's a great fight. You expect Dalton
Yesterday.
Smith to win, but there's massive risk.
Yeah.
And that's what we should be getting. It's too often now we're getting fights where it's one-sided. You know he's going to win. It's a big name, so everybody's told they should buy the pay-per-view or buy whatever or subscribe. Bang, and then I know what's going to happen. So, but this is a fight where I expect the time to win. He's probably a heavy favorite with the bookmakers. I haven't looked at the odds. But
Yeah,
there's massive,
mate, let
massive
let
risk.
me touch on that because it's
Yeah,
actually like he's 8-1 on Moses is to win this
eight
fight.
to one
Eight to
on.
one. He was 7-1, and then I've checked it this morning, and he's 8-1 on. Filip Hrgovic has never been such an outsider, of course, in his entire career, and I don't think. I include Usyk in this. I don't think any other heavyweight starts as an 8-1 favourite against Filip Hrgovic. Usyk right now, post Rico, I just don't see it.
I'm very surprised by that. I thought it would be a
Huge.
lot closer. And I know that's mad because I've spent 2 minutes there saying I'd expect Determined to
Yeah,
win.
yeah. I think
But
you know,
yeah,
people do.
so there's lots of there is negatives in Ergovich. He's older. Dubois beat him and broke him up in that fight, but it was a tough, tough fight for Dubois. Um, yeah, I'm stunned at those odds. I wouldn't bet on Ergovich. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's a lot closer than that.
Yeah, it's stunning odds. Listen, I also I wonder if Moses gets him out of there, 2-round demolition job, raises his arm, becomes the IBF World Heavyweight Champion. Hergovich is down for the count. We've never seen Hergovich treated like that. At that point, do we start saying this is the best heavyweight in the world?
No, I don't until Usyk retires. I don't think you could say it.
Even
Or
Usyk post Rico, because at that
yeah,
point, surely you've got to have the conversation.
yeah, but until they're never gonna fight because
Yeah.
Usyk's obviously that's why he's giving up the belts, and that's fair enough. I don't mind that. Usyk, I don't think Usyk has to fight Itoner. Um, I think, yeah, there is the argument, but the argument then it'll be who will it be between, and it'll be between Moses and Daniel Dubois if Usyk's gone.
And then
And
they'll
if you
say
look
Moses beat Hrgovic better than Dubois
better
beat
than Dubois,
Hrgovic.
but
That's what they'll
there,
say.
you know, the best way to settle that would be the two of them fight
Yes.
at Wembley next summer, and that will be the proper passing of the torch moment. From Fury AJ era, Usyk era is when they fight because you would imagine Usyk will fight where we now August, probably either late this year or early next year, if that Wilder fight happens, or who I mean, there's talk of Benavidez now and all sorts. So I think he'll have one more, as he said, and he'll go away, and that'll be that. And then yeah, it'll be between Moses and Dubois, and people will say yeah, they'll judge them, but the best way to judge them is to watch them in the ring, and that would be a hell of a fight.
A super fight potentially on the horizon. Just a couple of quick ones because I think it's running out of time. I haven't got the full zoom. Sorry, mate.
That's all
but
right. Eh?
To versus Rolly. I don't think that's necessarily for. I don't think people are that interested who watch this video as to what happened that fight. I don't think it was a particularly interesting fight either, to be honest, when it actually transpired. But your kind of reflections on that and Teofimo Lopez becoming a 3-weight world champion.
Yeah, Lopez is a really great fighter. His head hasn't always been on his shoulders. Had a great career, 3-way world champion, beating some big opponents, but never really, yeah, he's always had issues outside of the ring and stuff like that. So it's good to see him back at it looking good. Romero will regret it. I think he let a lot of rounds pass by where he
Seemed to
could have
just be
done
waiting
more.
for a check left hook for most
Yeah,
of the fight.
like yeah, and he did hurt Lopez at one point, and could have maybe if he had have done that more often. But you know what, the welterweight division's looking a bit better now. After Spence and Crawford had that fight, it kind of really died down a bit. Like when, but now you're looking at it, you've got Lopez as champion, you've got Ryan Garcia, WBC champion, defending in a couple of weeks, and you've got Devin Haney there,
Haney,
and
yeah.
those those are they're great fights. And I'm sure Liam Powell put his name in the mix as well.
Yeah.
But those three over in the States, I think that could be a nice little era. Shakur Stevenson will be up soon. Like these guys have to fight now, and I know Garcia and Haney have fought, so we need to maybe get that on again, and no controversy this time.
But you've said all of that, and you are not going to be Sam Jones's favourite person because there is a name that you have not
Jack,
mentioned
yeah,
there.
yeah,
A
yeah,
name who
yeah.
has been tweeting, whether or not it's him tweeting or someone, maybe Sam Jones, tweeting on his behalf for every 5 minutes. Jack Cattrall, is he going to get a look in? He's meant to be the mandatory now for Teofimo Lopez.
Yeah, but like Jack deserves a shot. Don't get and 100% does, and he's deserved his shot for a long time at light welter, and it took so long, and it, yeah, but he's always been captain, manager, leader of the Who Needs Him club,
Yeah. It's like
and
his nose is pressed up against the window, kind of
yeah,
looking
yeah,
in. But someone's got to
and
let him. That's why you've got. That's why you've got sanctioning bodies. That's why you've got mandatory
well,
challenges, etc., etc.,
yeah,
so that people who are looking in can actually just come in, right?
yeah, yeah, and it shouldn't be just how many bums you put on seats or whatever, and how many pay-per-views you'll sell. That it should be done on sporting merit, and there's no doubt on sporting merit, a Catterall deserves the shot. Now, whether it happens or not, that'll be down to maybe the zone. That'll be down to the promoters involved to try and get a deal done that he can fight Teofimo Lopez, because that would be a huge fight, either side of the pond, I think.
I agree, Chris. I think I'm going to let you go, mate. I mean, I think we've covered a good variety of topics. We've probably spent most of this talking about Fury Joshua, as you'd
Yeah.
expect, and it's likely that by the time we come off of this, the fight's been made and most of this chat has been redundant.
Yeah, that would be typical of both our look, wouldn't it?
But we should do it again, mate.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming on.
cheers for having me, mate.
Cheers, mate. See you next time.
See you later.